Hello, everybody. Welcome back to E&Ftv and a slightly different mini-series. As you will have known from the last episode that I did with Sally Richard, we're actually going to be doing a Wellbeing series. And this one is something that we both have been incredibly excited about. And we've got Dr. Julia Jones, otherwise known as Dr. Rock. So, Julia, we'd love to hear a bit more about you, your background, obviously what it is you do. I know that Sally and I are incredibly excited to have you on the show. And hi, Sally, if you want to say a big hello to everybody.
Yeah, so we've all got our super rock glasses on and respective sort of black t-shirts, etc.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to speak to Julia. I got introduced to Julia only recently by her sister, Sarah Jones, from Guest Line, and I've been participating in some of Julia's social media sessions as well. We're both complete rock buffs, Tom and I, so we're dead excited to learn from Julia about how she uses music for general well-being. So Julia, welcome. And I guess, first of all, could you give us a bit about your background, please?
Yeah, so, well, thanks for inviting me to this party, firstly. I gained my Dr. Rock nickname because for 25 years I've been showing people how the brain responds to music. I started off decades ago working with British Olympic teams leading up to the Sydney 2000 Games, showing them how to use music to control anxiety, improve sleep, boost motivation, improve performance, training, endurance, stuff like that. And even back then, you know, all the neuroscience evidence showed that music is exceptionally powerful. And I was in a band at the time. Surprise, surprise, with my backdrop.
Love it with the backdrop.
And I was DJing. So, you know, it just sort of blew my mind that all this stuff happened when you presented the brain with music. But, you know, when you think about it, it's not surprising because the ears lead to the brain. They don't lead to a black hole or a brick wall. They lead to the brain. And every air molecule that triggers a tiny hair inside your ear creates an electrochemical response, as do all our senses, that our brain uses to figure out what's going on in the outside world and to determine whether it's a threat or not. You know, our entire existence is our brain trying to figure out if we're in danger or not and then responding according to that. So to cut a long story short, I have been doing this in many guises over the years. So I went into the hotel industry. I set up a health club brand for a family owned hotel chain called Marston Hotels. We used music heavily to create to transform their flagship hotel using music into this high quality spa environment, right? Where you can take an empty room and put some scented candles and the right music, and you've got a high quality spa experience, right? Sound is very, very important in how you determine that. And, you know, obviously the hotel industry uses sound a lot throughout different areas, but that we built that health club brand, and I then left to do an MBA because all my qualifications were in psychology and physiology and exercise science and things like that. So I left to do an MBA, and my friends stayed and ended up getting shares, and it was sold for £180 million. And so I went off to do an MBA to learn about business, and they stayed and became millionaires, which is quite ironic. So over the decades, I set up an experiential marketing agency. So we work for a lot of brands and retailers, putting music in store, using the same brain science. You know, how do you make a customer feel a certain way? And more recently, my PhD looked at music taste. So how the music from our youth, those memories remain intact, even in late stage dementia. A person will still be able to sing along to a song that they grew up with in school. That led me back into wellness. I've been working with the NHS on dementia programs, and but the final part in this very long-winded telling you about myself is that I wrote a book called The Music Diet.
Yeah.
Which came out in 2019. And this sort of put all the decades of neuroscience research that I've been using since the 90s. And there is tons of evidence showing how influential music is in terms of brain, how you can harness it through singing, dancing, all these things have specific effects and they produce brain chemicals and things. So this became a wellness program, which is running in corporate offices. And during lockdown, I started doing it just with people I know as well, like online stuff, which is what Sally's been joining from my home. And next month, my second book, the follow-up to this, comes out. It's called Neuron, and it's called Smart Wellness Made Easy. And it's all about the fact that music is a biohack. And that is why it is so super powerful, because it targets our biological systems and helps them to optimize, so if you're in a stressful situation, then calming sound can help turn off that sympathetic fight or flight response, because the brain recognizes calming sounds as, okay, we can't be in danger because this is a calming sound, so it must be a safe environment. So to cut long story short, that's what I've been doing. And it's just, I find it staggering that all of these principles still aren't mainstream. It's just utterly ridiculous. And it's partly due to the fact that the music industry spent so much money positioning music as entertainment and as a commercial entertainment offer. And now it's really hard for people to detach their word blindness around music away. Oh, it's fun, it's entertainment, it's stuff like that. It's like, yes, it is that, but it is also a biohack, which means you can use it to improve your sleep, your focus, your environment, your, manipulating your autonomic nervous system to control your mood state, your breathing, your heart rate, your cell metabolism. It is a really, really powerful biohack that simply isn't being harnessed by people because they don't know about that aspect of music and sound. So that's the mission I'm on, is to try and get the word out so that people start benefiting from this and thinking about how they use music, more intently.
Yeah, I think that's the thing, isn't it, about using music, and because for me there's a direct connection of emotion to music. So if I hear a record that in the past was a sad time in my life or a really great time in my life, it takes me back to that emotion.
Yeah.
And I guess so. What you're saying, Julia, in a tangible way, then, is that music can help change your mood or change your mental state. And
yeah, absolutely. I mean, but dopamine, serotonin, oxytocin are all triggers, which are our key mood chemicals, and social bonding chemicals are all triggered by music, especially if it's music that you have deep previous experiences of. And our brain waves also, you can get an entrainment effect around music where music can calm down and slow down brain waves. So if you're going from beta brain waves down into alpha, more in an alpha relaxed state, and down into theta, real deep relaxation state, kind of meditation stuff, sound, it is a switch, if you like, to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And the same around breathing. If you use certain music tempos as a pacer for breathing, then it's a highly effective method of switching off cortisol release, stress, the stress response.
Yeah.
Training the vagus nerve to stay in control so that you're not triggering cortisol all the time, because your parasympathetic branch of that nervous system is healthy. Because you've been training it using Wim Hof breathing, or all those paced breathing things, whether you're just doing them in bed or in a cold shower. It's all training the vagus nerve, and the music can do that, and singing does that. It's the vagus nerve is it's wired into lots of different organs, including around the voice box. So singing produces a vibration effect that can help, improve vagal tone as well as lung capacity and everything else.
It's incredibly interesting, isn't it?
It's like being.
But why is this stuff not told? We're like, why is this not common knowledge? It's been around for decades. I read my first music neuroscience article in 1992 when I was studying sport and exercise psychology at university. That's like more than 25 years ago. And the World Health Organization has recognized music as a health tool.
Yes.
And yet it's just, you get the odd thing on TV and the occasional article in the national press, but it's still fairly, niche, this kind of.
I guess the frustration as well is it's so accessible as well. It's not, this is something, music is accessible. It's not something you've got to pay, you've got to go to the gym, you've got to pay, it's in your home. It's easy to, to plug into, isn't it, these days, more than ever. Really?
Absolutely. And it's the even more amazing thing, if this could possibly be more amazing than it is already, but the even more amazing part is that you don't actually need the music to be present to get the same effect, because your brain, even when you're singing a song in your head, right, the same neurons are being activated, the same chemicals are being released. So
is it as simple, Julia, as like the higher the tempo of the music, the more alert and excitable you are, versus if it's a lower, if it's a more methodic or kind of music, then the more it brings you down. Is it as simple as that?
It is. If you think of, humans have been around for many millions of years, and our brain thinks that we are living the way that our ancient ancestors lived.
I read your old brain. We all have old brains.
It's, we have an ancient brain. All our circuits are based on survival. It thinks we're still living in the outdoor natural environment. We've only created all of this craziness in very, very recent history, right? In the last few generations, really, of the world as we know it. Our brain has no idea. It does not know the difference between this ceiling light and the sun. It's light coming down from above, hitting the cells at the retina at the back of my eye, connected to the suprachiasmatic nuclei, which is a great name for a band, but also a bunch of neurons that is triggered. It is linked to the pineal gland, which regulates our melatonin, which is our sleep chemical. So if you've got bright lights at night, your brain is like, oh, it's daytime, mate. All right, it's daytime. It's like, well, no.
Hence the nightclub with the flashing light.
During lockdown, people are not going outside as early as they used to, so they're not getting natural daylight early in their eyes. And it's getting natural daylight in the eyes early is what starts the sleep timer. And 16 hours later, that melatonin will be coming up to make you sleepy to go to sleep, right? Well, if you don't go outside until 1 o'clock when you go for your lunchtime walk or whatever, then you're already off sync, because you used to go out to get the train at 8 or whatever. You would get getting natural daylight in your eyes. So going back to your point, Sally, everything, we have to think about everything as right. We have an ancient brain. So what does our ancient brain think when it receives sound information from the environment through our ears? Soft, slow, calming sounds are not usually the sound of threat. They're the sound of a parent naturally going. If you're trying to get your baby to sleep, you don't go blah, 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 blah. That's not going to work. You do slow, calming, soft sounds. Sounds of safety. Whereas the sounds of thundering hooves coming towards you potentially could be dangerous, right? Which is high tempo music, drum beats, that could be a herd of elephant coming this way, or the neighboring tribe or something that could be a danger. And so there is that fight or flight sort of response, which can be anxiety inducing, or it can be thrilling and energizing if you know that you're not in a dangerous environment. So those are the basic principles of, if you're trying to get to sleep, very, very simplistic music with no lyrics in it, because the brain, you don't want to give your brain lots of work, right? You're trying to switch it off.
You don't want to stimulate it.
Sleep mode. If you're putting words in there, the brain is automatically tuned to decode those words. So is that person talking to me? Is this information I need to know? So no vocals, instrumental music, calming. And it doesn't matter if that's, chilled Ibiza lounge vibes or classical. It's the genre is irrelevant. It's, do you find it soothing? Well, tick. That's your sleep playlist then. Sure. That's a good sleep playlist.
I suppose in terms of from a day-to-day practical point of view then, so if, I say if, we definitely have a lot of people in our industry anyway on furlough right now. There's a lot of stress, there's a lot of anxiety out there, a lot of people at home. And I suppose in terms of obviously any suggestions, really simple things that people can do, I know from a personal experience, if I go into a bit of this, so if I know that I've got to get on with a piece of work, there's a load to it, and I've got to get in front of my computer, I'll put on some liquid drum and bass. And it's one of these things that will just tick away. Maybe there's a certain melody that I can sort of just hum while I'm working, and that really works for me. But for somebody else, it could be completely distracting and completely, no, this is, counteractive to what I'm trying to achieve.
Yeah.
And I suppose, is there things that people can do at home right now with music to help them in their day-to-day lives, reduce stress, get them energized? What can people do, I suppose, or what tools can they use as well?
Yeah, I mean, well, as you say, using music, everyone pretty much now has got access to music. The streaming services have made it beyond easy to kind of dial up a playlist of all kinds of things. But you need to be mindful that when you're putting in, music for focus, for instance, into Spotify or whatever it is, you'll get a ton of playlists come up when you search for that. That does not mean that those playlists are suitable to help your brain get into a focus mode. They're just a playlist that someone has put up and they've called it focus. Right. So it doesn't mean that is going to work for you. It's about finding, try different playlists and then figure out, this really helps me get into a flow state. When I work with elite sports and athletes, it's all about getting into that flow state. And the way you get into that flow state is blocking out distractions. So, this is an entry point to the brain. If you're putting something in there that you know works for you, then you're also blocking out the distractions of everything else that's going on in the home and around and other sounds outside. Because even if you're not consciously processing that information, the brain is processing that information, right? It can hear the bin lorry outside or the kids playing in the next room or everything like that. Headphones in, choose your playlist, and you're channeling useful data through that thing instead of just letting any old sound go into the brain. So using playlists is super powerful. I am a big champion of dancing. A 3-minute song can completely change your brain chemistry and bring you back in the room, when you've been back-to-back Zooms all afternoon and you're absolutely shattered. 3 minutes of just going into the kitchen, making a cup of tea or whatever, and while you're up and about, just moving around to those vibes. No one can see you. Dance like no one's watching. That's a t-shirt. Dance like no one's watching. And you're changing your brain chemistry by doing that, because firstly you're increasing your circulation to your brain anyway, it's getting more blood and more oxygen, but it's also releasing dopamine, your motivation reward chemical, serotonin, acetylcholine for concentration, focus. It's the easiest reset button is to just put a song on while you're making a cup of tea, boogie around a bit. You know, you don't have to be John Travolta or whoever the more modern dancer is, Bruno Mars. You know, it doesn't the quality of your moves, and the same with singing, right?
You haven't seen them. You haven't seen my moves.
It's irrelevant. But the skill really doesn't matter. You know, it's completely irrelevant to the brain whether you're in tune or not. Right. The same benefits happen whether you're a good singer or a not so good singer, an amazing dancer or a dancer that cannot keep a beat. Totally irrelevant. You still get the same brain chemical effects and the same circulatory effects. So
do you think it works in a similar way when somebody sings along to a song? Because of course that I always find myself, if I know the words to a song, and I will almost immediately find myself first off humming it, and then I'll just full blown I'm singing. And does that have a similar, in terms of serotonin and all the rest of it, does that have a similar effect when you're singing as well as you're dancing? Because I know the dancing side of things, from a circulation, heart rate, all that sort of stuff, you're moving. But from a singing aspect, does that bring out any chemical reactions or anything that also brings in that sort of positive element, I suppose?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, singing, if you think that the lungs and the heart are directly, connected to the autonomic nervous system, which is our fight or flight or rest and relax response. It's the vagus nerve is the king of stress control is the vagus nerve, and that is, its job is to synchronize our breathing rate and our heart rate to get the maximum amount of oxygen into our bloodstream and around to the cells that need it. So anything involving the lungs is going to have a beneficial effect, and singing by its nature involves rhythmic breathing and rhythmic deep breathing. So there is that element, and then when you're doing it in a group of people, whether that's in the pub or a rugby match or a football match or a church or a choir or school, wherever it is, if you're doing that with a bunch of people, then you're also all synchronized, right? You're all breathing at the same time, which is a really powerful, amazing thing. And humans have been doing that. We know that humans have been making music for at least 40,000 years, because the oldest instrument that's been found so far is a flute that was made out of bone. And a flute is a really complicated instrument, right? To figure out how to make a flute, that's complex. So we can be pretty certain that humans were using rhythms and, whether that's just using your own body for rhythms and singing and making sounds. And obviously we were using sound and kind of beatboxing, different sounds before we invented words.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more tribal, I guess.
We would be using sound way before we'd invented language. So singing is it's another super tool when it comes to wellness.
I think as well, let's just touch on the Tunes Day thing, because I absolutely love it, and I don't know why I don't have a Tunes Day every day actually at 12 o'clock. So Julia's been running this Tunes Day social kind of group, and we get onto a Zoom call like this, and there's a couple of things I love about it. One is that there's a whole group of people that you don't really know anyway, and just see, and what Julia does is she puts on 4 different tracks, she chooses them, play them loudly, everyone's on mute, and Julia shows us, and we act out playing the drums or on the cornet, we've got the guitar, we've got the bongos, and we all follow, and we all do, and we all are in our own little place, wherever that is either a bedroom or a kitchen or whatever. And we're all freaking out doing it. And number one, we're moving. Number two, everybody has a smile on their face. And number 3, it's just bloody good fun. It's just like my son walks by and goes, "Oh, you're doing that thing again, Mum." And he just what is all that about? But, it's 15 minutes. It's a quick, short, sharp shock of moving, because I don't know about you, but I find I sit here like this from the time I come into my office at 8:30 to the time I leave at 6 or 7. I may get up to go to the loo, have a bite to eat or whatever, but I'm pretty stationary in the day. And actually, when I look at my fitness app on those days, if I haven't been for a walk or something, the peak of my heart rate and even the steps I've taken alongside my mental health, I feel more alert and better. I mean, it's remarkable. It's simple but remarkable, huh?
Yeah. And that started because last year, my new book is about so I did a 12-month experiment on my brain last year, which started on January the 1st. I didn't know that it was going to involve a global pandemic, but we got to March. So I was trying lots of biohacks. Music is one biohack that I tend to turn to most, but I just dived into all the latest neuroscience research around various biohacks and brain hacks, and how to optimize your biological systems using tricks and techniques like going out early and getting natural daylight in your eye, that kind of stuff. So it came as part of that because I was looking at how to break up my own work day with getting up, doing a bit of something. And then when we all went into lockdown, I thought, well, instead of doing it on my own, because now I'm like isolated because our family all got separated with various family care issues. So now I'm on my own. I'll see if other people want to do this with me as well. So it just ended up being, I started it a year ago. I started it in March when we went into lockdown every Tuesday lunchtime. And the idea of it is that we don't always end up doing this because we just get into the swing of it, and I never remind everyone at the beginning of what we're meant to be doing. But the concept is that you move around the band. So I do this a lot with people with active listening with headphones, right? If you listen to a song and then move your focus of attention around the band, right? So really listen to what the drummer's doing. And then focus in on that. Imagine the drummer playing what you're hearing. Imagine that drummer playing, and then move your focus of attention to what the guitarist is doing, and then do exactly the same for that. And try and keep your attention just listening to the guitar, because the brain is like a muscle, right? You can train focus. This is what we train Olympic athletes. It's like, this is how you train the brain to focus in, like laser sharp, spotlight attention onto just that piece of information. So the idea with the midday sessions was that as we're playing the drums, right? So we're just having fun, standing up, playing the drums, but we should also be like just really trying to focus in on what the drummer is doing and ignoring the rest of the band. And then I move it around. Right now we're doing it with the guitar, and now we're doing the backing singers and whatever, and try and move your focus of attention around. But it's much harder to do it. It's easy to do it when you're doing a listening experience with headphones on. It's harder to do it when you're doing the actions, because it's fun and you get into the you kind of get into the, because we are all laughing a bit, and it's it's just fun.
It's just
right?
uplifting.
So then you forget to do the active listening bit of trying to focus in on the thing, because you're just enjoying the song in general, which is fine. There's also a massive benefit just to doing that. But that's where it came from, as an extension from the active listening stuff that I do with headphones.
Right. Again,
sorry, you go, Tom.
I was going to say, I am going. If you send me the link for Tuesday coming, I am getting on this.
We've
and
heard
I
that
need
before.
it. This is it. This is it. And you can hold me to that. And I've said it now. Definitely send me the link. I'm on it. I want to have a good time, and I'll even get my girlfriend involved as well, because she is non-stop dancing around the kitchen, and I know that she would love it. So. Brilliant. I'll get it. I'm definitely getting it.
And this is the other thing, right? Is that there are a lot of people who have forgotten how to have a good time.
Yeah,
right?
I agree with that.
It's like, just have a laugh, guys.
Don't take yourself so seriously.
It's let your hair down. We have become like really over serious, and that is extremely bad for your health. Let me tell you.
Yeah. No, definitely. Sorry, and Sally, I think I cut you off there. So go ahead.
No, I'm really interested in the work you've been doing with dementia. patients and how that works with music. Can you share a bit about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's masses of data now showing that music, your music memories from youth don't erode in the same way as other memory functions. So as you're obviously losing brain tissue throughout dementia. I mean, you're losing brain tissue throughout life unless you're actively preventing that decline. Same as your muscle tissue. If you don't use and keep pushing to try and create more tissue, then it does naturally decay throughout the aging process. And you can slow that down. Learning a musical instrument is scientifically proven to be a supremely effective way of maintaining brain tissue because it's so complicated. Your brain has to juggle sound, movement, rhythm, synchronizing lots of things, visual information, singing maybe as well, reading. There's a lot of information that your brain has to synchronize. So it's learning music and learning a foreign language are the two scientifically proven methods of maintaining brain tissue. But
wow.
So sign up for some music lessons. But with the dementia piece, obviously once someone is in that decline, then even in late stage dementia, music is pretty much the only way to engage someone, calm them so that they're less agitated, need less medication because they're not as agitated, because you can connect with them through their music memories. And there's no real definitive answer in the research around exactly why that happens. But I chat with a lot of researchers in this space, and I think that, and they think as well, when my generations and our parents' generations listened to music, the way we consumed music was very repetitive. You went to the record shop, you waited for the record to be released,
then you
bought
100 times.
and you played the shit out of that record over and over. And that the brain learns through repetition, right? That's how you learn things. You learn through repetition. So our music memories from youth are super deep. Those grooves are deep because we went over them so many times. And I don't know if future generations, the same effect, hopefully we will have fixed dementia before future generations reach older age. But that music might not be as effective for them because they're not listening to it necessarily in the same way, because we're kind of grazing through a lot more music on digital platforms and streaming devices. And I don't think there's the same level of repetition of a similar repertoire.
I was going to say, because what absolutely frustrates me with my son, who's nearly 18, is that he will put on a track and maybe listen to the first. He won't listen to the whole track. He will jump. He'll listen to half it, then jump to another one. And my setting probably from what you're saying, Julia, is when in our youth, you bought the record and you brought it home and you played it 100 times and you played it in its entirety. You played the whole thing. And it quite discombobulates me when I might be listening to a track of his and I think, actually, this isn't too bad. And then he cuts it off halfway through to put on another one. It's a different mentality, isn't it?
Yeah. It's a different culture. I mean, I consume music in that way now too. I use playlists and streaming playlists. I've got no idea who any of those artists are. I've got no idea what the song's called. It's a song that comes it comes through on a playlist and then passes by, and it's it's changed the nature of the way that we engage with music. However, if I put on one of my vinyl records, then boom, I can taste the time, I can smell the time, I can all your senses, because the memories aren't just formed with one sense. Memories are formed with all our senses. So there are attachments with being able to, really kind of sense that you're back in that moment when you listen to certain songs. And that's a powerful thing. And with the dementia piece as well, there's some really fascinating work going on at UCL at the moment around using music as a sort of canary in the coal mine of people who they're diagnosing early dementia by playing people songs and saying, is that a sad song or a happy song? And someone who has dementia cannot recognize the emotional quality of that song. So they might recognize the song and be able to sing the song, but they can't say whether it's sad or happy song, right? And so they're using it as like an early detection of cognitive decline in certain regions of the brain. So
interesting, isn't it?
It is interesting.
Incredibly interesting. Yeah. So I guess go Tom.
I was going to say because I'm just sort of conscious about time, but I was going to ask, what music have you two listened? What song have you listened to today? What's got you buzzed today, or what have you either of you listened to anything today? And if so, what was it?
Well, I listened to Dancing in the Dark by Bruce Springsteen because that is the CD in my car at the moment. So when I was driving here, I was belting that out, top voice. But then I got here and I've been listening to I don't know what since I got here because it was just a playlist on my iTunes. So but my active listening choice was that song. What have you listened to, Sally?
Do you know what? I have the radio on in every room. I have it on permanently, and I don't know why, but I'm not comfortable in a quiet environment. So in my office, always I have the radio on, and in the kitchen, in the bedroom, everywhere, it's radio. And so nothing particular this morning because I'm a passive listener, I think, but I did remember singing a bit along to a Michael Jackson song, which I don't particularly like, but I think it just captured the moment. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know them all, so you can singing along whilst I put the kettle on or something. But
last week we were doing a thing with a client around body percussion, and we were showing them how to do Michael Jackson Beat It with like.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, how cool!
And then our guitarist was then playing the song while they were doing the groove, on the body percussion, which is quite good. Yeah,
love that. I love that. So I listened to you may know it, System of a Down, Toxicity. Cool. I absolutely every time that comes on, it gets me going. Have you not heard of that before?
I don't think I have. I don't know if I know that.
I haven't heard it for a while, but I know it.
I love it. Yeah.
So System of
Is that
Down.
something on your own playlist, Tom, or is that something?
It's basically something that my mates, because I obviously used to be in a band as well. So me and my mates, we used to listen to System of a Down. We listened to Foo Fighters, maybe some heavier stuff that is probably for another show, but and that one, every time it comes on, I just find myself immediately start sort of singing along, which is why actually I asked you earlier, does that sort of singing element also bring in those positive vibes? Because every time I do it, it's almost infectious. I can't quite help singing along. Does that make sense? I just find myself doing it.
Yeah, and the other thing is that when you see people in an audience or at a gig, and if you go on YouTube and watch a concert or something like that, when the camera pans across and everyone's smiling, right?
Yeah.
Their relaxed state is a smile. And that, again, the autonomic nervous system is, the eyes and the muscles of the face are all connected to that. If you see a smiling face, a smiling, relaxed face, then stand down. We're not in a danger threat situation. Friend. It's a friend, and music does have that effect, which is it's in every culture on the entire globe. Everywhere has got music at the heart of its culture because it is part of being human.
And
very
is there a
definitely.
correlation between as well, Julia? You know, if you're listening to radio and then a track comes on, you're like, turn it up, turn it up. Or if you've got a song, you turn it up, turn it up. Is the loudness of it as well? Is that why is that? Why do we want to hear it louder?
That's a good point.
It's that increased kind of adrenaline effect again, because it's like, well, loud songs are dangerous, right? But if you know you're not in a dangerous situation, they're exciting and they're exhilarating.
Yes.
It's like my son gets in my car, I turn on the car,
that arousal.
and he goes, "Why do you listen to music so loudly?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, I guess they've not experienced concerts like we have. Again, I was a roadie.
Hopefully they won't. Hopefully they also won't experience tinnitus like we are going through.
Yeah. What do you mean you need to put a headphone on when you go to a concert? Don't be ridiculous. Get close to the speaker. Yeah. It's amazing. It's really, really interesting. And I think, you know, I'm conscious of time. So I mean, a couple of takeaways from me from what you're saying in terms of if people are struggling and, you know, to get motivated, whatever, get out in the morning, get out and get some light, learn an instrument, you know, pick up, you know, recorder, whatever. It doesn't have to be an expensive instrument. And then when you're putting the kettle on, have a dance and a sing, you know, just you know, you don't look stupid, as you say, no one's watching, move.
Exactly that. Right. If you had you know, dry skin, because we've all been washing our hands like mad, and if you would get your lovely silky hand moisturizer, right, and you would sort that out, and immediately, you know, oh, this feels much better, feels lovely. Music is the equivalent of that, right? It's if you want a quick fix that works, then put a song on, put your headphones on, put the radio on, whatever. You're feeding sounds into your brain, which immediately create electrochemical responses. So it's a superb biohack. And all of this and more will be in my new book.
Oh,
well plugged.
When is it out, Julia? When is it out?
Well, it was supposed to be March, but we've just realised that I'm behind and Easter is early. So it's now going to be April the 19th.
Great. When you have it or can promote it, will you let us know, and then we'll
absolutely.
As well.
And I finally got around to a website as well, so drjuliajones.com.
We'll put that in the description below. So people can check it out. Do we have can we get a link where people can find the book that obviously is already out? The was it the Music Diet? Was that right? Or the
yes. I've shown you already.
There we go. Is there a place that people can click on, you know, like Amazon or something like that, where they can actually get that? Can we put that below as well?
Yeah, it is. Well, actually, it's saying out of stock on Amazon at the moment because I've just signed a book deal, and so where it was available had to be ended. So when the new one goes live, this one will also go live at the same time, so which was meant to be next week, but now it's in a few weeks. But
great read.
That's all right.
Great read.
We'll have some time, so what we'll do, if we can, we'll put that link below so people can obviously check that out, and of course we'll put your website below as well, because I think it'll be really helpful for people to just check it out and find some more information about you and obviously what you do. So we'll make sure that happens. There's
some playlists on there as well, and links to I think there should be a link to the Focus Runway, which is the soundscape that I use for focus. Actually, is that on there? I need to get that on there if it's not on there. And I've done some self-hypnosis recordings. I think they're on there. And also this book has just been turned into a children's book as well. It's called Billy's Marvelous Music Diet, and I've just recorded the audio video version of it as well, which it's on the Social Book Club. So
how cool.
Audience have young kids, and it's all about a cute giraffe. It's super cute.
I love
brilliant.
that.
Brilliant.
I love that.
Well, I wish you all the best.
Great to see you both in your shades, looking so cool.
I was going to say.
But our super cool look on.
Yeah.
Well, Julia, I just want to say a huge thank you for taking the time out of your busy schedule, giving us an incredible insight into what it is that you do, your background, and not being funny, but all your instruments behind you as well. It just looks so cool. So a massive thank you from me, and I just want to say, it's been great and a real eye opener as well.
And you rock, Dr. Rock.
Yeah.
Thank you, my dear. And I look forward to seeing you both at my tunes session.
Yeah.
All
Me
right.
and my girlfriend will both be there, and we'll both be rocking our socks off. I can promise you that.
Excellent. Shades on.
Yeah.
Shades on.
Yeah.
Yes.
Shades on.
Good.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning into this episode. Make sure you tune into the rest of this mini series, which is all around well-being, with myself and Sally once a month, and we're going to be bringing on some more fantastic guests. But for now, thanks so much for tuning in, and make sure you see who's on the next one. Thanks very much, guys.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Cheers. Bye.